I now have the honor of introducing to you the person who thought up this event and brought us all together this Friday afternoon. As Undersecretary of Education, Dr. Martha Kanter is the highest-ranking federal official in the area of higher education. She is the first community college leader to serve as Undersecretary. From 2003 to 2009, Dr. Kanter was the Chancellor of California's Foothill De Anza Community College District, serving more than 45,000 students. As a policymaker, she draws on real experience with real students, and would it be that all policymakers had that background? Those of us who are on the ground really would like to see that happen. She holds many honors, too numerous to mention, but I want to highlight one. Martha Kanter holds an honorary degree from Moraine Valley College, one of our dual degree partners, and kudos to Moraine Valley. I've had the pleasure of working with Martha Kanter on a number of national committees, and what impresses me most about her is that she understands that success means more than mere counting degrees. Sometimes it's really hard to count the things that count. We must look at the quality of what is learned. Success also means more than preparation for a first job. It means education for many careers in a changing world. Most important, success means productive life in a civil society. Please join me in welcoming Undersecretary of Education, Dr. Martha Kanter.
Thank you, everyone. I'm truly delighted to be here. It's an honor and a privilege. First of all, to be in a room where you have state leaders, policy leaders, state government, where you have mayors, where you have a board of trustees and a president, and leadership from the business community, family, community members, and most importantly, those to whom we dedicate our careers, the students who are here. And you know, when I see all of you in this room and I listen to Dr. Maiman talk about what all of you have accomplished here at Governor's State and in the community colleges and in the Success by Degrees work that's gone on to make this happen, you know, I think about it takes a village, it takes a community, it takes everyone figuring out how to do the things that we should have done many generations ago but didn't have the opportunities. I've been talking around the country. Secretary Duncan and I chose the Great Lakes to actually have our fall bus tour. And the first one we did was in the South 2 years ago, and last year we did the Northeast. This year it's been the Great Lakes. So we've traveled to every state. And in looking at that, the one theme that I've started off with, and this is the last day of the tour, I'll be here all night, and I say it's the last hurrah because it's a great way to conclude the week-long work. We're back to Washington now. Our congressional members have come back. Our president is back. You heard the job speech last night. So work is going to get underway, and we'll do everything we can to make this country successful. But one of the things that's held us back is really the silos that we have worked in. So when I look at the Success by Degrees and all of the things that have to happen to make this work, it really is about connecting our silos. And one of the big things we hope for in Washington is that the silos of our political parties will come together, just as you're doing here in education, to connect by degrees. This success program, I've been around, I've visited high schools, elementary schools this week. We've been all over the Great Lakes, And we're looking at what I called yesterday islands of excellence. Here we are at Governor's State, Moraine Valley, Prairie State, other places that are islands of excellence that are reaching out now to connect the dots so we can give students, every student in this country, we hope very much, the kind of experience that you at Governor's State are bringing with your colleagues in the other institutions to give students a seamless experience. Because as our students said, we can't afford to waste time and money. It takes effort to do well, but we know how important your education is. And so that's why Secretary Duncan and I have come across to really talk about education as America's economic and civic strategy. And I underscore civic because we talk a lot about helping students earn the degrees and the certificates, do all the hard work in your majors to be successful in a career, and yes, that's critical for the future. Just as critical is making our democracy work much better than we have in the past century. We have such an opportunity to thrive, to bring America back to first in the world, as our president has said, and that's really why somebody like me would travel 3,000 miles east and take a job in Washington and take a big pay cut and do all the rest of this to come and see, what can we do for this country's future? And so that's why it's so important when our president talked about college completion as an agenda, when he said, to me in February, when I heard the words, right, it was about a month after he got elected, and he said that phrase, he wants our nation to have the best educated, most competitive workforce in the world. To me, that just said everything about what you're doing here at Governor's State with your partner institutions. For every student that walks across a stage, that graduates, and I think it's fantastic that the Success by Degrees is focused on finishing what you start at the two-year institution and then finishing what you then move on to at the university. Because we've got to help people get the highest quality education and complete that education in order to move into a changing economy, the knowledge economy, the global economy, whatever economy you want to call it. It's the most fast-paced environment we've ever experienced in this world, and we have tremendous challenges and new opportunities for students that are going to have to live in this changing environment and be ready for anything. And I say that because a number of the tech people I talked to, I was at Carnegie Mellon on the second day this week, we were talking there and we said, we are really educating students in one sense for jobs that may not exist today. And, with my colleague, our new CEO from Edison, and, thinking about what kinds of jobs are we going to have in the energy field tomorrow. And I remember back to 1990 when I was a college president, biotechnology did not exist. It did not exist. It's a new field of study. Now it's old hat to the energy field, but 15 years ago, it wasn't on the table. 20 years ago now, that's how old I am, I guess. So we have to be prepared for the kinds of changes coming forward, and we may be educating you for something that doesn't exist today. And so that's why it's so important to do everything we can for the students here to help you think critically, to help you work on teams. I was at the Great Lakes Naval Station this morning for a commencement of the boot camp graduates. They had 960 students that were graduating, and all of them were working in teams. Yesterday we went to visit Calumet High School. I looked at about 6 different classrooms and talked to high school students. They were all sitting at tables, solving problems that industry had given to them. One group I talked to was creating a booklet to explain DNA to the community. What is DNA? What is it about? They were doing all kinds of research. They were doing scientific experiments, but they were engaged in something practical that industry had asked them to do. And it's that kind of breaking down the silos that we need to do more of, and I think you are just well on your way to doing this. Today, all our students are going to be, as you said, Dr. Maiman, competing with, an international community of learners. And we've got a situation in our country where we've been behind. Just a couple generations ago, we were first in the world. Today, I track this every day. Today, we're 9th in the world in college graduation. And we want to get back to first in the world. And for me, specifically in my job, it means that I want to do everything I can for our colleges and universities across the country. There are 6,000, and you are a model for them. And that's why people like me will come here and celebrate all the work that you're doing, because what we want for those colleges and universities to educate about 10 million more students between now and 2020. That will bring us back to first in the world. And if we do that, Canada's at 55% of college educated, we're at 42%. We have got to get better at this. And the way we're going to do that is exactly what you're doing here today. The Success by Degrees, the dual degree program, has all the elements of making college affordable, doable, and building on the partnerships that you are having, whether you start at a community college or you go right out of high school, really staying on track to finish what you begin. Our competitiveness is also resulting in the fact that today in America, we've got 2 to 3 million jobs that are not filled. They are vacant. Why? Because employers are saying we don't have the people ready to go. And it's easy to outsource and bring people in from other nations when we have people right here that with the education that you provide will be ready to go work at your company and the other companies here in Illinois. So a college degree matters, ever more than it ever has. And we know from the data that students will earn 40 to 60% more with a bachelor's degree, more than 30% with a 2-year degree. And guess what? Every time you earn a degree, you are going to be in a job and give back to this economy and this society because you're going to pay taxes to make the economy prosper. So I have a chart that I show. I didn't bring it here today, but it's on the web if you want to go see it. And it just shows by level of education what your earnings prospects are and how much taxes you'll be paying as an educated individual in society and how much more you'll be paying in taxes. Happily, I'd like my taxes to go up actually, but how much more you'll be paying in society as you increase your education. And it's really a no-brainer. I feel very badly for people that drop out of high school. One of the reasons I visited, the high-performing high schools that we have over at in the Great Lakes states are because right now only 75% of students are graduating from America's high schools. And in some areas, even some close by, 50% are leaving high school, and that is just not acceptable. The high school principal the other day told me that 53% of the high school students came from single-parent families. And that parent has to work. That parent has to earn a living for him or herself and her children. So it's very, very hard for students to have the benefits that certainly I had growing up. I had 2 parents. They both worked, but there were 2, and even with one. So we've got to understand, and I think that's another tremendous attribute of what you're doing in the Success by Degrees vision that you have, to really talk about the social and emotional and cultural as well as the economic aspects of what it takes to keep students in school and keep them focused on their studies. For our part, we'd like your advice on how we can do a better job integrating work and career and family and education. I don't think we have spent enough time in Washington really thinking through the fact that it should be a given that students in college are working also. And how can we work with industry in more creative and innovative ways to allow that work to be laddered up into the careers that you all students want to go for, because we know you'll have to work to sustain your economic means while you're in college. And it's not that way for many people in policy positions. They went right through school. Somehow, a lot of people that make policy don't have that working class understanding. And so I think we need to really change the paradigm to understand that in the community colleges, we know this, I know this from my many, many years in community colleges, 2/3 of students worked while they went to college. I think at Governor's State, certainly you have a large percentage of students who are working as well. And we need to find ways to look at whether it's work-study or industry education partnerships to keep students in those labs with those professors and in the industry-related opportunities that will accelerate your success as students to get through. Industry will get a benefit because they'll have access to very high-quality students, and the colleges will have access, and I'll be able to say we are on our way to meet President Obama's goal of getting, that 10 million more, and believe me, we have all kinds of data to track this. So it's very courageous work that we're involved in.